of the affluent neighborhoods. Good morning, boys and girls. Welcome back to another Old Man Rants / Sample Talks. I'm on my way to service the old monster. Oh, look, a Fiat 124. Not a Barth. Oh, no, it isn't a Barth. But I'm on my way to service the old Monster 1200. We're going up to HD Bull's place. We're going to do our best not to dox him in the process. I think what we'll talk about today is the quote-unquote loneliness epidemic. Both, oh, it's harvest season also. So what is it, a Massey Ferguson tractor? I can't tell what the harvester is. Oh, it's a Class. It's a German brand, white and green. But the loneliness epidemic in the world right now, it's very real. And I don't really have the fix to it. I think I know a few things people might be able to do. But, you know, people are all different, right? Different stuff's going to work for different people. And I think that's the most important thing to keep in mind is that what works for you might not work for someone else. It's reported that, and this is a lot of the focus right now is on Gen Z because they're the, you know, current up-and-coming generation coming into the workforce, you know, experiencing what has been called quote-unquote real life. I argue that real life starts when you're a baby and ends whenever you die, right? You know, they're all parts of growing up, becoming the adults. I use that term loosely because a lot of the people of legal adult age do not act like it, but that's okay. I think it's all part of growing up. But anyway, Gen Z is the big focus, but I think it spans wider than that. You know, you see constantly on social media people talking about dating in my 40s, dating in my 50s, blah, blah, blah. And it's on both sides, funny enough, for different reasons. But for both men and women, it's different. But both of them are lonely, which is the sad part, right? And like I was saying, I think there's a few things that contribute to this. One of them, I think, the biggest contributor is the focus on our differences versus our similarities. And what do I mean by that? I know that in the news media, sorry, I'm getting directions. It really, really pays to focus on the negative stuff in the media, because that's what drives engagement, that's what drives views, what drives clicks, you name it, right? So they focus a lot on that. And with the way that we're hyper-connected nowadays, it's so easy to say, oh, well, this person doesn't like, I don't know, gray motorcycles, therefore I can't be friends with them. And it obviously spans to more serious things, political stuff and whatnot as well. But it's definitely sad. Yeah, going back to my point, media is definitely one of the biggest contributing factors, I think. And not just like your legacy media either. I'm talking like your social medias, your, you know, TikTok, Twitter X, whatever you want to call it. Even to an extent, maybe YouTube. YouTube's really the only social media platform I exist on right now, obviously. So, and it's become so easy to find similar groups of people, whether they be far away or not. And what ends up happening is because I can find similar people who are 2,000, 1,500, 800, whatever it is, miles away from me, and I can talk to them and interact with them online, it puts me in this little bubble, this little sphere of people who think almost identically to me. And I think that's really, really dampened our ability as people. Let me shut that windows up. Dampened our ability as people to, you know, be able to separate our differences, focus on the things that we do agree on. Because the reality of it is, everyone's not going to agree with what you've got to say. Again, it could be something as simple as the color or the nationality of my motorcycle, the fact that I wear the helmet that I do, the gloves that I do, whatever, or something as big as one of my big, you know, moral upstandings. I think murder is wrong. I'm sure there's someone out there who would argue, well, you know, if it helps with this, then I mean, I think, you know, selective murder can be just fine. But yes, I think that's a huge contributing factor to the loneliness epidemic, is just the overwhelming push to focus on our differences, excuse me. And it's sad, it really is sad. I wish that we could kind of take a step back pre-social media. Yeah, so there's the social siloing, I think is what we'll call it. That'll wrap up everything that I just covered. So we've got social siloing is one of the contributors. And I think, obviously, you know, you can blame who you want, but the economy, it's not good. It's not what it used to be, right? Buying power is low amongst everyone, almost everyone. The housing market's bad, the auto market's bad, the motorcycle market's not great, but it's better than a lot of other things. So that also plays into it. You know, you can't go out and have a cheap, you know, dinner date with someone anymore. You need to budget, I don't know, 50, 60 bucks, maybe even more depending on where you live, when you factor in a tip also. So that all adds up. And if you're doing that, you know, I don't know how often people go on dates anywhere. I'm long out of the dating game, but let's say that you're doing that 2 times a week, maybe 3 if you're really pulling in dates. That'll add up. It'll add up really fast. And it's like, well, I'm not seeing results. You know, at what point do you as a human being say, okay, I'm not reaping results from this, I need to put my funds elsewhere? So I think a lot of folks, again, both male and female, have kind of withdrawn from the dating market. That's not to say exclusively everyone has. I've seen a recent uptick trend, which I thought was really funny, which is for a while we had the older gentlemen, you know, in their 40s, 50s or whatever, who had a lot of their stuff already established, would date younger women, you know, in their 20s. And so now what we're seeing is the inverse of that, where people are, where Gen Z guys are dating up and dating older women. So there is a little bit of crossover there, but I don't think that that's a majority of anyone doing that. There obviously are people doing it. I don't really care. I mean, date who you want to date, good God. As long as you're over 18, or whatever the legal age of consent is in your, God, is it state to state now? State or country of residence. God, state laws. Interesting. I also think one of the smaller things, not necessarily contributing nearly as much, but I do think it is a small factor, is the, and I guess this ties back into social media and that whole social bubble, but the ability for me to go online and see 6 or 7 people in one finger swipe who have cooler, better lives than I do, you know, I think that does have a negative impact. I remember one of my one of my friends from high school, you know, she had this ideal perfect life made up for herself, and that wasn't happening, but pieces of it were happening for other people, and she was, and still is, unfortunately, still really entwined on the Facebook rabbit hole. So, you know, she was constantly looking and seeing, oh, Marina got married, oh, Sierra got married, you know, Caroline got married, whatever it be, right? Danny married Grace, you know, that sort of thing. And I think because of that, she kind of fell into a bad way for a while, kept trying to force the people she was in a relationship with into that ideal picture of a relationship that she had in her head, which obviously isn't realistic or healthy. So I don't think that anyone is gonna have an end-all be-all answer for everything. I think there are things that probably will globally benefit a lot of people, but it's not going to be all-encompassing. You know, if I say, hey, you know, let's, I don't know, something outrageous, like let's restrict social media like the CCP does. All that does is then leave a gaping hole in user-generated content where corporations would swoop in and in a lot of ways do the exact same things. And even still, there are some people who manage social media very healthily. There are some people who are unaffected largely by social media, I guess algorithms and shit like that. There's some people who only have their close friends on social media or their family. So, you know, to just do a, holy shit, that's Ballard Road. I know where I am. To just come out and say, yeah, we need to put a blanket ban on all of this. It's like, well, no, I don't think that's the answer. I think that you as an individual should find something that you enjoy. Now, if you enjoy going to the gym, if you enjoy going to church, that's cool, but do it for the right reasons. Don't join something because I want to meet someone to date or something like that, right? I think that's silly. I think you'll find a lot more happiness in just doing your own thing, finding something you genuinely enjoy, and, you know, letting that become a part of your personality. Don't let it be all-encompassing. Obviously, we don't want that, but because those people are annoying too. But, you know, make it a point to find something that you're interested in. And it can be multiple things. It doesn't have to be expensive like motorcycles. It doesn't have to be expensive like computer gaming. It doesn't have to be expensive, period. You can get interested in, I don't know, A4 paper folding into like origami figures or something like that. It does not need to be an expensive hobby, and eventually, unless it's folding A4 paper into origami, I don't know if you'll find anyone interested in that. But people of similar interests will come along. You won't necessarily find a relationship out of it, but you will find friends, community, and just a sense of purpose, which I think is what a lot of folks are needing nowadays. I think that God, this is a blind ass roundabout and I don't like it. I think that's what a lot of folks are longing for. It's not even necessarily a relationship. It's more just a sense of having someone to talk to, stuff to do. You know, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and pretend that I'm the beacon of friendships. Outside of Bull, I don't really have a whole lot of folks who I could reliably know I could call on if I needed them. You know, and that's okay. You know, I have my family, my wife, that sort of shit, right? Those are the people I do know I can rely on if I do absolutely need something. If, knock on wood, if my tire were to go right now, I know I could call any of them. My wife is out bridesmaid dress shopping with one of her friends because she's standing up in her wedding. I know for a fact that if I was like, hey, my tire blew up and I need you to come pick me up, she would do it. She'd be like, hey, I'm really sorry, but I need to go pick up my husband. Similarly, I guarantee you, if I called Bull, because he's a little bit closer, and I'm like, hey, dude, I didn't make it. Can you come pick me up or something? He'd 100% do it. He'd either grab his car and come get me, or he'd make a joke out of it and make me ride bitch on his Z. But either way, I know he'd come get me. I mean, he's out here doing all of this free labor shit for me right now, right? You know, I bought the materials, and he's helping me with the labor, because I know shit about airplanes and I know shit about cars, and I know there's a little bit of crossover for motorcycles, but there is so much shit I don't know. Excuse me. So he's helping me with that stuff too. And I would much rather have that small group of friends versus, I don't know, just meaningless shit with people who share an interest that's not really an interest of mine because I went to a gym. I also think that if you're going to a church to meet people to date, I think there's probably something wrong with you. Now, if you're going for a sense of community, obviously that's probably a good place to go, right? Yeah, I don't know. I digress. The human loneliness epidemic, it continues, and it's not just here in the States, it's worldwide. And I don't really know what to do. That's kind of why I didn't lean so hard on the whole economic thing. I mean, that's obviously a big factor here, but for places that are either economically stable or have been in economic turmoil for a long time, I'm talking like 15, 20 years or more, what has changed there that's also changed here? And the only obvious thing I can think of is the rise of social media. And I'm not saying that that's the reason, I'm just saying that's my observation. What's also changed here that's changed there. And since, you know, we'll call it the early 2000s, we've had, you know, MySpace, Facebook, Instagram, all that shit, right? Data privacy, specifically when it comes to vehicles. We all know that our phones are listening to us, our TVs are listening to us, and all this other shit. But so is your fucking car, dude. And I don't understand two things. I don't understand why. Well, I do understand why. It's for advertising. But I don't understand why people are so chill with this, dude. It is literally affecting your finances, and I'll explain more momentarily. But vehicles are collecting so much diagnostic data, so much data about you, your driving patterns, how many people are in your car, how you drive your own fucking vehicle that you bought. And people are just cool with it, dude. What you might not know, or what you hopefully do know because it's hit mainstream news now, is there's several companies, but the one that's in the headlines is called LexisNexis. Nothing to do with the Lexus automaker, I don't believe, or their subsidiary Toyota. Although, funny enough, Toyota is one of the larger offenders in this situation. But LexisNexis is taking your vehicle's data, buying it from the manufacturer of your vehicle. I don't care what you got. If you got a Ford, a Toyota, a Subaru, a Chevy, any GM, it really doesn't matter. If it's a USDM market car, your selection is infinitesimally small on what you can buy that won't be reporting a shit ton. And even if you buy something that doesn't report a shit ton, it's still going to report some stuff. But anyway, they're buying that data and they're reselling it to insurance agencies. And insurance agencies are buying this data for pennies on the dollar and then looking at your vehicle, because obviously your VIN number is tied to your insurance policy, and they're looking at your vehicle history. So there have been many cases of people who purchased insurance, agreed to have a $15 a month discount or whatever cheap bullshit they dangle in front of them, and then all of a sudden their insurance rates go up. They didn't change anything, they didn't have any accidents, no claims, nothing. Why the fuck are my insurance rates going up? Well, it's because LexisNexis sold your data to the insurance policy, and they saw that you had 4 harsh stopping events in the last 5 days. That's gonna smell like shit. Meaning directions. Third exit on the joint. Okay. And the interesting part to me is, again, just like what we saw or see with cell phones, people are so enthralled with having their satellite navigation, having their Apple, it's not even Apple Maps or Android Auto, but it could be something as simple as you hooked up your phone via Bluetooth to your fucking car. It's like, oh, we got your data now, thanks. That data then goes to manufacturer. Again, LexisNexis buys it. So it's fucked, man. And people, they'll do it. They'll do it. Hey, we'll give you $40 of free insurance for this month if you plug this shit into your OBD2 port. And it goes beyond consensual stuff, moving past insurance to just vehicles in general. So I don't know how many of you guys stay inside of vehicle knowledge stuff, but Toyota had an issue where the GR Corolla, there were a few actually now, I think, GR86s that in driving in normal ass traffic, they weren't on the track, they weren't beating on them. There's one video where a dude is being passed by like minivans and shit, and then all of a sudden his car starts smoking and it catches fire and burns down. And this has happened on multiple occasions. I'm going to tell the one story that I know best, but the end result was the same for all of them. They rejected their claim because at some point in the vehicle's life it had been driven over 85 miles per hour. There are some highways in the United States that have a speed limit of 80 miles per hour. And for those of you guys unfamiliar with the states, it's very rare to have a road where people will do exactly the speed limit. I know in UK you have like average speed zones with speed cameras and all that sort of stuff. We don't really have that here. I'm sure bigger cities and that sort of stuff do. But like, so right now, that speed limit sign right there is 45. I can do probably 56, 57, maybe even up to 59 past a cop, and he won't even look at me. He won't even look at me. It's just a cultural thing here. So because the vehicle is driven 85 miles an hour, i.e. 5 miles an hour faster than speed limits in the States, they denied his warranty. And the reason behind the denial, it wasn't because of a powertrain thing, it was because, oh, well, the tires are only rated to, you know, I forgot, some certain speed. And if you exceed that, then it voids some bullshit clause, which is dumb. But then the question comes up of, okay, well, I didn't sign anything. I was very meticulous and had someone look at the purchase agreement when I bought the car. I didn't sign anything to consent to data. And what came out was Toyota or the dealership or someone had put a GPS monitoring device in line with, and that's how you know this is sneaky, in line with the car's OBD2 port. Meaning if you needed to hook up to your OBD2 for whatever reason, you probably would be none the wiser unless you knew that specifically the Toyota OBD2 ports on new Toyota vehicles, the plastic is white, and the one that he had dangling down below his dash was black. That's the only way he figured it out. And that's insane. So, PSA. If you're buying a new vehicle, if you're buying a used vehicle, if you're selling your used vehicle, wipe all that shit off of there. If you need help on how to do it, either hit up YouTube or heck, even go to your dealer. Some dealers will help you out with that. Even something as simple as clicking on the agree and continue on your infotainment screen can be enough. So I would encourage you, take a weekend or whatever and read through that EULA. Louis Rossmann, who's a YouTuber who deals with tech repairs, specifically Right to Repair, and obviously owns his own repair shop, he uses the term EULA roofing, which is a harsh term, but that's somewhat accurate if you ask me. If you throw this gigantic book at me knowing darn well I'm not going to sit down and read through that entire book because I just got into my car or I'm just buying my car and I'm under pressure to either get where I'm going or to sign the papers, and I would consider that putting on a high pressure situation, which is not going to let people make the informed decisions. And it's not just cars, it's Jesus Christ, it's video games, it's software, you name it, it exists. Oh, that sun feels nice. Wow, that's pretty. I love fall time. Absolutely love fall. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this little rant here. I'm gonna go fix my tire and that'll be it. So I will talk to you guys in the next video. Thank you very much for watching this one, and as always, Take it easy.